have some questions you'd like to ask the couple here, please feel free to step over to the mic.
So I always have questions and comments and I talk too much, so put up your hand if I'm saying too much. But being on the outside, it's hard to tell somebody when they see something is not right in something you want to be right. The other thing is, as a person who's gone through relationships and or marriage, we're not always honest about this thing called marriage. And, you know, I came to a realization in my marriage that, you know, I was a young mother and I made choices and I had a child. I didn't choose that child. I have parents. I didn't choose my parents, but I chose my partner. And I had a day where I was a little bit broken and I said, but God, this is not what I chose when I married him. And so when you got married and you realized the day after, I guess the question is did you feel that in approaching people that you were going to get that honest answer when you did ask or you did say something to them?
So to clarify, so did I expect to get honest feedback or sort of a soft place to land?
Yes.
When I was at the beginning struggling in marriage?
Yes.
Ooh. I think the honest answer is no. So yeah, maybe the timelines are iffy. I don't think at the beginning I would have expected that, which is why it was sort of like well, you know, it's all right, it's okay, everything's good, you know, it's kind of like, I think internally I wanted that. I didn't expect it. If I said, listen, I'm struggling, this is an absolute wrap, I think I would have expected, you know, people to comment on that, like, Jen, like, are you good, or do you need some help? But I didn't do that at the beginning. I was very much like, okay, it's supposed to get better. This is the hardest time of the marriage, you know? So I think I wanted people to see me without having to show them me. I think that was what I desired. I don't know if that answers the question. Is that no?
Yeah. I mean, whatever the answer is, your answer is, it's your answer.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I just want to acknowledge something that you said, which is really key. Let's say you're in a situation where somebody you love brings a guy around. Maybe it's her fiance, maybe it's her husband, maybe it's her boyfriend. She says, I love this guy. We're going to spend our life together. And your mind is like, this guy is a waste man. Like, this is a bad match, right? As humans, it's hard to have that conversation because you're risking the friendship, you're risking the relationship if you're honest about what you're seeing, right? So I totally hear you. It's a tricky situation both ways because that person might want your honesty or they might not, or they might think they want your honesty, and then when you give that honesty, they may not like it, and then there's damage done that's maybe not worth it.
Yeah, I think part of that, though, is you're just learning. It's like you have your training wheels on, right? So it's going to be difficult. So you anticipate the difficulty. So that's why maybe you'll say, you know what, I'm going to get this eventually. Yeah. You know, who we are today is not necessarily who we are tomorrow. So perhaps sometimes giving someone a chance or understanding that we're going to be coming up against some hurdles, you have to speak positively walking into it. And sometimes you don't know the people that don't spend time with that person may not know them well enough as you do.
Hi. Okay, so I have a question. You did bring up a statistic that 52% of marriages end in divorce. I'm pretty sure that is a North American statistic, but there are many cultures out there that don't have such a high divorce rate. It's a different type of mentality where in North America, we have the option to divorce. It's kind of like, okay, divorce is a thing. Whereas certain cultures where it's like arranged marriages, where it's like you have a certain duty as a husband and wife, those marriages don't often end up in divorce. And in often situations, those marriages actually work and those families actually work. So I just wanted to know, what do you think of that? And is there something within our community that we can do so that marriages can work if we adopt some mentalities versus some others? I don't know. And the other thing is, I also look at my parents, and a lot of the older generation is the same thing, where the divorces hasn't been an option and they just stuck together.
Yeah.
And it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes they might not be the happiest, but it works. So I just wanted to know, what is your opinion on that?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, you're asking, given the fact that in some cultures divorce is less prevalent and it seems like they just stick to it and they make it work, what is our opinion on that?
Yes. So what is your opinion on that versus our North American
ethos
idea that, okay, you have the option to
so if we restrict access to the option to divorce, how much less divorce would we have? That's the sociological question I'm hearing.
Possibly, yeah.
That's a good question.
Divorce rates go down, murder rate goes up.
Right. So it's funny, but that's not actually that far off. Yeah. So Sri Lanka has the lowest divorce rate per capita in the world. And Sri Lanka has high rates of family violence, family conflicts, suicidality, mental, emotional, relational health issues. And the Maldives actually has the highest divorce rate in the world. And the Maldives is considered a luxurious paradise. It's very, very interesting when we think about who's getting divorced, how they're getting divorced, why they're getting divorced, what their sort of cultural values are. I think it's such a great question to ask us. Like, if divorce wasn't so simple, so easy, would we have less divorce? I think the answer is yes, if we're answering a yes or no question. What are the qualities, components, elements that we can begin to value more or cultivate more in the context of relationships so that we don't turn to divorce as a first option? That it's tough. It's tough.
I have some thoughts. Should I share my thoughts?
Sure.
So I think approximately 71% of divorces are initiated by women. And that's not an accident. From my perspective and my understanding of the history behind it, what's happened is women have become more and more empowered to not put up with nonsense. Historically, they were forced to put up with XYZ, and they had no recourse, no option of getting out of it. And now, in increasing fashion, they're using divorce as a tool to get out of nonsense. I believe firmly that women shouldn't put up with nonsense, but I'm also pro-marriage, and I want to see the divorce rate decreased, right? We both do. So, to answer your question about the cultural comparison, we need a bit of both. We need a bit of that Western mentality that says, hey, it's not okay for men to act in these ways because that causes harm to family units, but it's also not okay for necessarily women or people to give up, perhaps too early in some situations, right? There's, from my perspective, when God created divorce, he knew there'd be a certain level of hardship, and the level of hardship was perhaps beyond what we thought we could handle. Like my experiences in marriage was harder than I thought that I could handle. So my opinion on this matter is that both need to happen, is that these cultures need to learn from each other in general and on this issue specifically. We need to learn that it's not okay, as men, it's not okay for us to behave in ways that engender divorce and make divorce a viable option. And as women or as people, we need to learn that the process of going through a marriage means that things are going to be worse for a while than we want them to be. And that's not necessarily a sign that we should leave.
Okay, one more question, and then we have to go back to her. Okay, tell me.
Yeah,
turns us.
So I know you had mentioned a little earlier about being prepared, that you're about 75%, but you would, in hindsight, want to be 110%. If you were to have a conversation with yourself, say 6 months to a year before you got married, and you could use that conversation to say, do this in order to avoid unwanting results in your marriage, what would you say to yourself 6 months before? And same thing for Jen. If you had the opportunity to kind of just go back in time, you're standing in front of yourself 6 months before, what would you say?
There's that time machine he was talking about. Okay.
Do you want to go first? Okay. You go for it.
Yeah. What would I say to my 6 months before I got married self? From this position, 2024, I would say don't get married, sweetheart. Baby girl. Just avoid, swerve, pivot. No, I'm kidding. I would say to
That's
her...
fair, if that's how you feel.
No, I actually wouldn't, because I have the gift of hindsight now, and there's so much growth and so much learning that has happened. Like, I wouldn't be the person I am today without having gone through a marriage with Samuel. And I like the person I am today. So, I mean, who might I have been? I don't know. I don't even want to know. And so I'm going to keep all the things. So what I would say to her is, sweetheart, like, buckle up, because this is going to be a tumultuous ride. But you're going to make it. You're going to be all right. That's what I would say to her. That's the truth.
I would say to that version of Samuel that these things that you think are little things are actually big things. They're a big deal. Don't ignore them. Don't overlook them. Go deal with them.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, very good answers.
I want to share a little bit more about why we're doing this. And beyond why we're doing this, why you should care. Because many people listening to this might be in happy marriages or engaged or divorced, and it's so far in the past that you've forgotten about it, you've gone through your own healing, etc. Or you're single, this may not be on your radar, this may not feel practical to you necessarily. And that's certainly understandable, but part of why we're doing this is because, as we've mentioned, the messaging on this that exists right now is often very general. Like when we were struggling, people told us things like, yeah, you don't worry about it. Everything happens for a reason. And all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose.
Amen.
And those things are true. Those are not lies. Everything does happen for a reason. Like I believe that. But there's the nitty-gritty, there's the how, there's the in-between spaces, there's a what do I do if. And we have both put in a lot of time and effort and energy and healing into becoming healthier people who can bridge those gaps for ourselves and who can help other people and support other people in doing so. Again, we don't know it all, but we now we have experience. We've learned the hard way in many respects. We've put in our blood, sweat, and tears. If any of what we've learned or experienced can help somebody else even 1%, can make their life even 1% better, 1% healthier, can make their next relationship, even if they've been divorced and they think they've dealt with it, can make their next relationship even 1% stronger and more likely to succeed, more likely to stand the test of time, then it's worth it for us, whether it be for themselves or somebody else in their circle. The reason we started this initiative is because we believe that us sharing in the way that we've been sharing, we've seen it help, we've seen it bring healing. Even if it's a lot of information that may not seem relevant or maybe repeats, if there's a little bit that can make somebody stronger, it's worth it for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to add to that, the reality is we are all touched in some way by divorce. And it's just the truth. Like, even if you don't want to see it or haven't seen it yet, like we are all touched in some way. it affects millions of people, billions of people even. So a friend, a sister, a mother, somebody has been touched by divorce. And divorce changes the way that we show up in our lives. It changes the way we treat people, the way we see people. It changes the way that we are affected by others. Like CEOs that go through divorces, they leave their companies in a lurch, and they just go off into wherever. Right? There's teachers who go through divorces, don't show up, and have to call in supply teachers. Like I remember I moved to Belize, and I went to see the dentist. Like my mouth has never been open for so long. I had lockjaw because this woman was going through a separation and a divorce, and she just was hurting so much. She just wanted to talk. She is in my mouth, cleaning my teeth, talking and pouring out because she is struggling. Her family is being torn apart. She doesn't know what her hopes and dreams are going to be for the future. She had so many ideas and expectations that are now gone down the drain. And my mouth is open. But I'm thinking to myself, this is a dentist, and divorce is impacting her finances. It's impacting her clientele. It's impacting my jaw. I'm hurting. Right? And it's funny, but the reality is that we've all been touched in some way by divorce. And so it's important for us to have these kinds of conversations, because when we don't, the healing process takes longer, or it doesn't happen at all. And then it spills over into generation. And we look at the patterns. Oh my goodness, my divorce runs in my family for 6 generations and all this stuff. Like the things that we don't talk about don't get healed. God reveals to heal, right? So we have to talk about these things, and it's important to all of us because it impacts and affects all of us. Another part of that is that secrecy sucks. Like hiding and the lies and all that, like that just sucks. So in being able to create a platform and a space for us to talk, then we normalize the conversation itself. Right? We don't have to go around living bitter and living angry and living, like in misery. We don't have to do that. We actually can achieve places of joy and freedom and like reconciliation. We can forgive. We can have the hard conversations. We can apologize and make amends. Like we can do that. And on the other side of that is this like high vibration life where we can live excited and filled with joy and filled with purpose and meaning. You know what I mean? Like that's where we go. That's where we get to if we decide to do what we're doing. And I think everybody should care about that, because the anthem of our culture is, I just want to be happy. Well, you can't be happy if you're just going to sit down there and not do any work. And you can't be happy if you hold on to bitterness and anger. And you can't be happy if you don't forgive and apologize and do all the things that are hard to do, but are necessary to do to get what you want. There's just no way to do it. And I was like, my happiness is worth all of it. All the pain, the sweat, the tears, the blood, the whatever. It's worth all of that. Because today, my goodness, I am a completely different person than I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Completely different. For those of you who've been rocking with me for a while, you guys can testify. I have a different mindset. And I think that is a gift. That is a gift that we are all, we all have access to. Like we've all been given an opportunity to have, if we are willing to do what is required to have that gift. And it's worth it. I'm telling you, it's worth it. To live a life of purpose and meaning and joy and freedom is worth it. Like there's nothing else that is more valuable. Nothing else. Like
bitterness is not self-care.
Right?
Yeah.
Say it again.
Bitterness is not self-care.
It's not. Mm-hmm. It's not cute either.
So I've listened to you too, and I understand your vision. But a lot of people go through divorce. And in fact, some of them may share their views and their struggles. Why together?
Okay. Whoa.
Sure.
Yeah, why are you doing this together?
Why are we doing this together? Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like a lot of people do well, not a lot, but people do this, but not necessarily to get together. I have thoughts. You go
Great
first.
Question.
Go for it.
Zooming out, like we talked about, I think that God clearly had a bigger plan. Like when we were friends, I had no idea we would be engaged and then married. When we were married, I had no idea we'd be separated and then divorced. And then we weren't speaking. I had no idea that we'd be sitting here on this couch having this discussion and starting this initiative. So clearly there's something going on at a level higher than the level that I'm privy to, right, above my pay grade. So from my perspective, what I can see and what I am privy to is the fact that we want the same things. We want healing and support for underserved groups, specifically the group of people who are experiencing divorce, and the groups of the people who can benefit from the knowledge and experiences of a couple who have been divorced. And so understanding that independently, we were both seeking to serve and to help and to support people. My thought process is like, why not do it together, right? like if we can get over the awkwardness of the fact that we used to be married, why shouldn't we combine forces and amplify each other's abilities and passions and visions and resources and knowledge, right?
Yeah. I love that. And I think that's a great question in and of itself. But I think that your question is even better. Why not together? Like, why not take the opportunity to model this thing that a lot of people actually want to achieve, right? Nobody wants to be in toxic relationships. Like, nobody wants to be in drama-filled relationships. Nobody wants to, like, hold bitterness and anger and gain weight because they're eating ice cream late at night. Like, nobody really wants that for themselves, to be in misery. And I think if we can offer, like, a model for not that, then why not do that? Why not? And I think part of me is thinking about myself. I like challenges. I do like to challenge myself. And I think in moving forward into this initiative, it was like, oh, challenge yourself to do it, Jen. Let's see if all that work that you claim to have done is going to bear any kind of witness. Let's see. The proof is in the pudding, right? Let's see if you can hold your tongue. Let's see if that indignation rises up on the inside of you. Let's see if you can really have these open conversations. Oh, you about revolutionary relationships and all that. Let's see. Let's test that out. Let's see what's going on there. So I think part of me is testing myself because I do like challenges. And
that's why we got married within 7 months, because we like challenges.
We do like, it's true. Yeah. We were like, yeah, let's do this. Everybody's like, what are you doing? And we were like, what are we doing? We're like, we're going to do it anyway. But I think that is part of the drive. That's part of what makes us and me who I am. There's like an excitement in that, right? There's like a pushing the envelope in that. But there's also like a modeling and a possibilities movement in that. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show people that it's possible to do it. And not so they can see me and be like, oh my God, that's so great, Jen, you're doing great things. But so that they can see themselves. Like, oh my God, if Jen's doing it, maybe I can do it too. Like, I don't want you to leave and be like, Jen's great. I want you to leave and be like, yo, I'm great. I can do it. You know what I mean? So it's like that idea. It's so energizing. I feel it like in my blood right now. Like, I'm energized by that idea, right? Like, just being able to provide that space of like, it's possible.
Yeah, that's great. I think we're coming to the end. But before we do, any last thoughts? Who wants to have the last word here?
Bruce Lee. I can ask me.
My last thought is that Genevieve should have the last word.
Good call.
I love it. Well, I mean, my last thoughts aren't necessarily about maybe what we're talking about, but more so to you guys, to this community that has been in support of us, and individually or together, or whatever the case might be, over the years. Like, oh, see, I want to say thank you. Yeah, I genuinely just want to say thank you. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be who I am today. And I am so grateful. And I know that I don't say it as often as I feel it. You guys are like so important and so crucial to my development, my growth, my healing process, all of it. Each and every one of you. Like, I look here, I see your faces. Some of you I've just met, but most of you I know, and we've been literally walking together. And I value your input. I value your insight. I value your wisdom. I value your criticisms. I value your pushback. I value your love. I value your text messages. I value your prayers. I love you so much. Like, you have no idea. Like, Sam, you'll send me a message and I'll be like, whoa, Sam remembers me? Like, she just remembers me? Clendia will send me, girl, are you alive? You know what I mean? Like, my mom will call and be like, are you good? There's just something about that. It's so life-giving. And I want you guys to know, like, how impactful, like, your calls are, Andrea. Like, I don't know. I don't have the language to fully capture, like, how vital you are to my existence, like, to my very existence. There were nights when I was crying on the bathroom floor, wanting to die. Like, you have no idea. And I want to convey just a little bit of it to you in this moment. Those are my last words tonight. Thank you for being here. This is a new initiative. We're launching. It's weird. Some of you are like, are you guys getting back together? Like, what's going on? We feel like this is your wedding all over again. We don't know what's happening. Like, you know what I mean? But thank you for being here regardless.
Give them a big round of applause. Now, I have a few asks of you. So first of all, obviously, Jen, so articulate in saying that thank you, but also want to continued prayers for them. That's one. Secondly, a production like this and sharing and building this thing to the degree in which they'd like, it takes a lot of not only your support, but it takes resources. We're looking for sponsors. If you could, again, I urge you, like, share, tell your friends, tell the dog, tell the preacher, tell everyone that you see, and ask for those sponsors to help to really boost the effort. Again, I want to thank you all for joining us and thank the great couple for being who they are.
He keeps calling us a couple.
Well,
He's calling us a couple.
it's two people, that's all I know.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. X's and O's. What we are hoping to do is expand and to, like, connect with different groups and different organizations that are usually under-resourced and that could use this resource. And this resource meaning having people come in and create a space. That's all. Just create a space to normalize conversations about the things that we go through when divorce happens. Now, of course, that speaks to people who are married as well as people who are not married or pre-marriage or whatever, but specifically to, this group of people. So if you guys know of people and organizations or what have you, yeah, we just ask you to share with them what you've heard, what you've experienced here today, and let us know so we can connect with them, because we do believe that this is for purpose.
We definitely covet and appreciate your support in that respect.
Good night.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Woo! We love you guys. We love you guys.
Our hope is that by sharing our mistakes and what we've learned from them, be supporting healthy conversations in our communities. So if you're enjoying listening to this, do us a quick favor, like, comment, and subscribe. It's not only encouraging, but it helps us in tangible ways. Catch you on the next episode, family.